By the watch that is not on my hand, I see that it is Friday night. It is 11 o'clock. We have no Will Allred. My best buddy has a comic convention tomorrow morning, and he has to get up bright and early. So I said, I'm gonna get in the captain's chair and do it on my own. And the reason I can do it on my own is we've got returning friends. We have Bear and B and Dave Steinborn who have been here. They know the show. They know the way it goes. They know how to do it. So I'm going to get up. I'm going to leave it to them. You guys have a great night. Never. I would never, because I want to hear about these campaigns. As you guys know, what we like to do is a little 30-second pitch on each campaign. And I'm hearing some static. Is that me? I think that was me. Okay, cool. We turn the microphone off, we turn it back on, and we're better. 30-second pitch. Bear and B, I know that you're probably not going to meet me at the Fort Lauderdale Con this Sunday. Shout out in South Florida if anybody wants to come talk comics. I will be there. But if you were behind your booth, how would you get somebody's attention on Crossroads?
So with words or with pictures? Because honestly, if we were at a con, we'd be like, look at this pretty art.
I think that is exactly, you use your words, you say, look at this pretty art, but then you follow it up with this horror. I saw Supernatural, I saw X-Files. So, we're going to use our words for the 30 seconds.
Okay, we can do that.
It's not like we're writers.
No, it's not like we're writers or anything. So
you know what? You're writers, not talkers, and that is okay.
Thank you. Thank you for making that distinction for us. Crossroads is it's got the same feel as an X-Files case, or like I even want to say Hellboy, in terms of like it goes through mythologies, and there's a story that goes along with it. Basically, each issue is a different cryptid that is based in the state that the boys are going through, and there's also a larger overarching story.
All right, sweet. We're going to get into what you can tease us on that larger overarching story after we talk to Dave. Dave Steinborn, you are on for Broken Trident, but you aren't talking about Broken Trident. You're talking about the artist of that book. What have your artists put together with you?
So the artist, Eiler Azasano, he's the main artist from Broken Trident, and then his kind of counterpart to Oliver Yellow, they together had put together this book called, they changed the name to How to Build an Army, and when he comes on, he should be on here shortly. Well, I can't remember what he had called it in the Philippines, because it's already been printed over there.
Oh, cool.
Just in a very small run. And so when we started talking to him about our book, he had told us he had showed us pictures of this one. That's kind of one of the reasons we had picked him as an artist, and it fits our world perfectly. And so I guess this story is kind of our tagline, is that it's now set in the same world as Broken Trident. It's in a land filled with dragons and serpent people and kind of would-be warriors trying to save their world. It's kind of like a little lighthearted, fun-filled epic adventure, and I'm gonna give Eiler crap later for not being on here to describe his own work for himself, but I'm trying to do my best with this one.
He and Will are having their own chat on a different stream.
Yeah, right. It's we're basically acting as publisher here, and I've never done that before, so it's new to me. But
we'll get into that.
It's a manga format, so it's going to be this 5 by 7.5, and we're doing we'll get into this more later, I'm sure, but we're doing the Kickstarter Make 100. We're doing 100 hardcover editions, assuming we get enough backers for that or whatever. And
all right. Well, Shawnee is in the chat, and she says Happy Friday the 13th, which I guess let's do a little curveball. She says Happy Friday the 13th. So Jason, Michael, Freddie, Chucky, Who's the greatest horror slasher of all time?
Michael.
Michael. Yeah.
Dave?
Yeah, I agree, Michael. I
Because it's
Well,
true.
yeah.
I would really like to make this a conspiracy and a fight and a debate. It's Michael Myers.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it can't
how can
be
you do it?
Jason because as much as I like Jason, he's a Michael Myers clone. There
Yeah.
is no Jason without Michael. And as much as I loves me some Freddy,
His mom was scarier.
it's the quiet type that is the prototypical slasher. So as much as I like Chucky and Freddy's quips, yeah, it's Mike. It's Mike. It's got to be Mike.
Gotta be.
But he's very versatile. I mean, in Austin Powers, I would have never thought he would murder people.
Shrek.
And Shrek. Well, maybe the ogre could. Well, you know what, Dave? I'm going to give your artist a chance to get in here just in case he can make it. So I'm going to pull up Crossroads. Baron B, what was the first, who came to who with, I've got an idea for this story, and what was the pitch to each other as I pull it up?
Wow. It was definitely my deal. I actually sort of went to our artist first before I went to Bear. And I was like, there's this story that I really want to tell. I think it's right up your alley. I had been asking Goya to do a comic with us for over a year. And he was like, I'm not going to be good at that. I don't understand comics. Like, I've never done one before. And it's like, no, he hit it out of the park.
Yeah,
Like,
this is his first comic, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I basically went to Bear and I was like, so we're doing this. And she was like, okay, whatever. Sounds good to me.
Let me jump on the adventure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
So you said Goya didn't really. Is that how you pronounce it? I'm sorry, I just heard it the first time.
Like
Goya.
boy and then
What didn't they think they could? Why didn't they think they could do this? And what was their artistic experience before when you met them?
So strictly illustrations. He had he kind of knew. Sorry, he kind of knew manga. But he's from Italy, and so he's not really even that familiar with traditional American style comics. And so he was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, well, first I gave him a random comic from Sky. And I was like, just do a 5-page thing and just have fun. We won't even show it to anybody. Nobody's seen it. And it's really good. But nobody's seen it and he won't let me show it to anyone because he's like, I was just learning and
I don't
that
think
was
even
nothing.
I've seen it.
Yeah, no, he doesn't know.
Oh,
But
wow.
getting his feet wet that way sort of encouraged him to do this. And now he's said multiple times, I can't believe I didn't start comics earlier. This is so much fun. Sequential art is so much more rewarding than illustrations for him. So I was like, yeah, you should have listened to me a year ago.
It's so interesting when it is a very different muscle. An illustrator, tries to tell a story in one image, and some can really take 3 or 4 and tell a story with it, and some you can just tell they just don't have that flexibility. They've got the muscles, they just don't have the flexibility. So it's so cool that it's worked out for you in that way. I noticed you said that every issue would have a different cryptid as the boys go state to state to state. How many issues is this envisioned at this point?
So,
well, the first season, we're calling them seasons, is 10 or 12?
12.
12. There's 12 issues. But we have maybe 4 seasons planned, or 3.
We've got 4, but it's like this is our if it doesn't keep going, it will because we're us. But if it doesn't keep going, the first 12 are good, and you could end there, but
Right.
Yeah, it's not gonna end on like a cliffhanger or anything like that.
no.
Yeah.
That's smart. You're not going to Netflix us? You're not going to.
No.
Well, thank you. And we're going to welcome Isla.
Tyler. Yes, Tyler.
Isla, welcome. We're talking about
Wow.
Crossroads right now. Happy to have you in.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think that's really smart to leave it in a place where you can come back to it if you have that opportunity, but not where your supportive fans are left in the lurch. So I think that's really cool, and it allows you to take a break if you want to, or if Boya gets a huge illustration job that's going to keep him paid for a year, you don't have to feel upset as he obviously takes it, because I'm going to assume you're like me. You're paying what you can and not what Boya or Ludo is worth. And if an illustration job comes, we indie writers have to wait a little bit, which I'm comfortable with. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, honestly, like with this book in particular, it's been completely different from how I've worked with other artists in the past. Like Anaku is with Sky is very like not hands off, but like whatever you want me to do, just let me know. Don't tell me anything that I don't have to know,
Okay.
basically. And that's happened to me with a couple of other artists as well. But with Boya, like he's co-creator. Like we're crediting him as co-creator of this comic because like he loves these characters and he loves the story and he loves like
And he's helped develop it so much
Yeah.
too. Like he's definitely like a part of the writing team, even though he's the artist.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, that's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, definitely. So he's been really, really into this, which has been really nice. And I know that if we have to take a break, we'll always go back to, because he's very protective of these boys now.
That's it's an interesting thing. It happened with Ludo and me as well. We when I first started, I was going to be at my first convention, and I had never been there I'd been to one convention as a reader, much less ever been as a creator. So I just thought, oh, what do you have to do to sell a comic? You have to have a booth babe, right? Like that's how it works. You get a booth babe to sell comics. So my friend Vicky was an aspiring model, gorgeous, wonderful person, and extraordinarily beautiful girl. And I said, "Do you want to do it?" And she said, "Sure." So we built her this tart costume, and it was a skirt, and Victoria's about 8 feet tall, and 7 of those are legs. And we were doing the skirt, and she went, "I can hike it up higher." And I looked at her and I went, "No, that's as far as I want Tart's skirt to go." Now, Vicky, I'm not a saint. I wouldn't mind Vicky wearing a higher skirt, but not Tart. And you fall in love with these creators you create, and you almost have a protective thing. So I'm glad to hear that your artist has that for your boys as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So one thing that we have in common that I do want to bring up in this wild world of social media, you have your own Discord. How did that come about, and how do you look at your Discord and the community with that?
So I made it just to connect with the fans more. And it's not as active as it should be anymore, but now that community has kind of moved over to Patreon.
Okay.
So, and but I've like met one of my best friends ever through Discord and through the Kickstarter campaigns. So it was just sort of a way to build the community. And what do you think?
I think it's also good for us to keep track of things. Like, I know that we have like a separate server that's just sort of like our dumping ground of like, all right, this is the link to this file and this is the link to that draft and things like that. And I think it's if nothing else, like it did used to be a lot more active, but like it always sort of kicks up around the Kickstarters.
Yeah.
And it's I can just throw some weird picture up there and be like, isn't this funny? And everyone's like, oh yeah. And then like that's it for like 3 months. But like that's it, you know? And that's fine with me.
Hi, Shannon. Thank you for joining us. Well, I think that it's interesting you said that your Discord community has moved over to Patreon, but that's your Patreon, right?
Yes.
Well, that can't be a bad thing.
Oh no, it's not. It's definitely not.
I mean,
We enjoy that.
that's kind of living the dream to have created a space that people enjoyed, and then they moved from the free space to the space where they're supporting you financially to have the same community. So I don't think that's a failure on your part, as opposed to you built a nice place for people to feel comfortable, and now they took the next step. So I say good for you. But all right, well, I'm gonna take down the thing. We're gonna talk about Crossroads a little bit more when we're done. But we had Dave talk a little bit about how to build an army, and he teased that this wasn't the first name of this project. So now that we've got the creator here, Allred, how did this come about? Before you met Dave, what was this manga story? How was it created?
Okay. Because I really love the fantasy genre. Like, I love fantasy movies and fantasy anime. Anything I guess anything fantasy. So, I really love those type of stories. So when I wrote, at first it wasn't how to build an army. It was just named after the basically the protagonist of the story. It was Veda. First, I would just call it that way because my intention when I wrote it is like it's a fantasy shonen type of anime, like shonen like Naruto or like so that's why the main character is a boy, because eventually he'd grow and like upgrade or something. So it's fantasy, but like when I wrote it, I was like my intention was like to have that story beat and blend of like how anime write their stories, and as well as how like Western stories like are written, like that are more like elaborate, because in animes they're like very episodic and super at times super comedic, and I want that blend of both, like like not too serious and not too overly comedic type of writing. So
Right. Awesome.
so yeah.
I'm going to pull up the page, and as we go through it, let's talk about it. And so, Dave, I believe you said how you two met when we were talking about Broken Trident. But as I pull up the screen, how did you guys form your collaboration?
So I was playing Dungeons and Dragons a lot, and we actually were we were trying to kind of start the Critical Role type YouTube channel. The funny thing was, I was so new to Dungeons and Dragons, I didn't even know what Critical Role was. I legitimately was just like, let's make a YouTube channel. We're kind of funny when we do this. Like maybe we can get viewers or whatever. And then I found out what Critical Role was, and I was like, okay, we don't have a chance. And but we wanted to commission someone to draw our characters that were in our campaign. And my very first D&D character that wasn't even for the YouTube channel, his name was Calder at the time, turned into Janor, the main character of Broken Trident. I had paid Allred to draw that character, and then also another character from a different D&D campaign that, funnily enough, will be in our next mini-series of Kickstarter comics. But our whole table of D&D people ended up paying Allred, and we got to know him pretty well. So then when it was time to make the comic, he was the first artist I went to I'd messaged a few others on Facebook, but once Eiler told me that he did comics too, showed me this work, showed me some other work that he had done. I didn't even really bother looking at the rest of the artists. I already had a relationship with him and liked his work enough that we ended up talking about Broken Trident and
yeah. When I see this page, I see this page. I understand why.
Yeah, I love that page.
So this is black and white, which is more of the traditional manga as I understand it.
Yes.
Does this read left to right or right to left?
Right to left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it'll be the manga size, but still bound the like America.
Yeah, actually, we had it like drawn. We had it drawn traditionally and scanned. So.
Okay. Very cool. And you write and illustrate this, or what's the art team on this one?
I wrote it like the way I write things is like it's not like a very kind of writer kind of way. It's like I have the scenes in my head, like the story's kind of like this, and my editor was like really helping me with okay, this is what's happening, and like what do you think are they gonna say or something. So I don't know, it's a different way of like writing things. It's like when I write things, it's like I'm just playing, like when you're a kid, you have the story in your head and you're playing with your toys. And like I like to think that's the way my process works. Like I'm just I feel like when I write, I have a slight idea of what's going on, but it's like in my head, it's like it's alive. It just comes to life, and I just wrote things that whatever that pops up. So
that's awesome. You're just finding it on the page, basically.
Yes, yeah. Basically, I'm just finding the what's ever gonna happen on the page.
It's funny how Baron B had mentioned that their artist is essentially, the co-creator of the dog. We kind of look at that like that with Eiler for Broken Trident as well, because he's brought such life to our characters. We've really involved him in the creation process, and we actually changed our writing style going forward for issue 2 of Broken Trident. And I want to make this more about how to build an army, but I got to bring this up because he's so good at what he does that we were very like writing it very like strict style, like this is what we want here, here, and here. And now with the next issue of Broken Trident, where we are now like not even writing out what the characters are saying, really. We kind of have an idea of it, but we're just saying this is what's happening on this page, give it to Eiler. Like we told him, for the first, I don't know, I think we had 5 pages planned, and he gave us 9. And so now we're writing the script based on those 9 pages and going forward with that. So
you're going full Marvel method. Nice.
Yeah. Way off topic, but I wanted to just bring this up because it's kind of funny to me. Kevin, is your hair still long, or did you get it cut? I can't tell with your hat on.
I cut it, buddy.
Oh, okay. So I saw Eiler's picture on our Kickstarter with his short hair, and the first picture I ever seen of you on Facebook or something was also short hair. And then when I saw you for the first time on the live stream, you had the really long hair, and I was like, I've watched you and Eiler both, your evolution of your hair lengths.
Yeah, that was like, the picture was like pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And when pandemic came, like all the barbershops are closed, and you couldn't get a haircut.
Right.
And after that period of time, and when the barbershops were open, and it was like, man, I don't want to cut it anymore. So.
I had the exact same story. Exactly. And it was like, what I decided is I am going to cut my hair for the rest of my life every 2 to 3 years. I am not going there every 6 weeks anymore. That is a waste of time. That is a waste of money. That is a waste of my life. I'm going to be, if we talk on Broken Trident 5 or How to Build an Army Season 3, I'm going to be trying to catch Eiler. But
I think you were
Yeah.
as long as him last time we talked. I think in March of last year. I think your hair was that long.
I think he's got me even at my longest. I don't
Is
think
he?
it was. Yeah, it was 14 inches when we
Oh,
measured
okay.
it. But I'm looking. I'm seeing about 18 inches there on. But yeah, it was just basically. I don't know if I've told the story on the show, but I needed a haircut when everything shut down. And so I asked on a dare, friends on a Zoom, they dared me to let my daughter cut my hair, and I was like, sure, what the heck? So she cut all up here, and then her hands got tired. Whatever. 2 or 3 weeks later, I asked my wife to do it, and she cut all up here, and then her hands got tired. And I was like, I'm going to come out of
Now
the
you got a mullet.
pandemic, not a mullet, with a super mullet, with the most steroid filled mullet in the history of all mankind. And I'm, like, I went to a redneck high school. I can't have a mullet because I'm too stereotypical. I gotta stay away. So I was like, that's it. No one's cutting my hair again until this is over. Because I thought it would be over. I was so silly. I thought the pandemic would end. Like, I know,
We all did.
stupid me. But yeah, and then I was just like, it's time. Let's get it cut. So yeah, but Eiler, in 3 years I'm gonna be catching you and then deciding to go cut it again. And this has been Hair Talk on Explain Yourself.
Right? Sorry, we got way off on a tangent.
Oh no, tangents are what this show is built on. No, we love it. So yes, very yes, Shawnee, very silly, Kevin. We have to make our own fun during pandemics. That's what I have learned. So, how is there a possibility of another volume of How to Build an Army? Because I know that the book was already done. Can you revisit this? Because I know that it's now part of the Broken Trident world, or Broken Trident is part of the How to Build the Army world. I don't know how that works.
They're all in the same world.
Yeah, because we found out when we talked about the Broken Trident like elements, we found out that we have lots of similarities in the genre, and like the races are already similar. So we just decided that maybe we could, like make them into like just what. Well, the Broken Trident story is like happening over here, and this is happening over there.
Kind of on the opposite side of the world.
Yeah, opposite side of the world.
The funniest part about it was when you look through the pages of How to Build an Army, there's like the serpent style people or snake style people. Me and Travis, the co-writer of Broken Trident, we as kids were trying to write comics. They were awful. The characters were super cheesy, but we had created a serpent race, and the art of them was, I did the art. I'm not a good artist, and they were kind of funny. And the cool thing is Eiler, basically the serpent people in his story are like what I would have liked those serpent people to be that I created when I was 10 and Travis was 6 or whatever. Like, it's
what you sat down to draw but couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just so funny, like how much stuff lined up between me and Travis and Eiler was just perfect.
Well, right, and from a whole globe away, that's really amazing that somehow you guys found each other. So that's kind of like destined to be somehow.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of which, before I accepted the project, I don't know, because this is kind of like we're going to like superstitious stuff. Okay, so before I accepted the project, I had like a dream, like I was underwater. I was inside a submarine.
You never told me this.
Yeah, I did, but because it feels silly, but I'm gonna tell you now, because I had a dream like I was inside a submarine and I was talking with fishes, like underwater, and my submarine looked like on the outside it looked like a fish, so I was like talking to fishes, and somehow like I have buttons, and when I press it, like my submarine like talks to fishes, and we were communicating. I don't know what we're talking about, but um, and then I forgot about that dream. And then when we had the meeting, it just like and their idea was like, oh, there's this underwater civilization, like it was about water, and it was like, okay, this was like what I dreamt, like that's weird. So I was like, oh, I have a good feeling about this project, so I'm gonna work on it. Like,
That's like who knows how the universe works, right?
yeah, right.
I mean, you guys just happen to run into each other. You have this dream. They pitch this thing the next day.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be the one to tell you that isn't the universe talking to you through your fish buttons. I don't,
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
I know, and now he's drawn like, I mean, Kevin, you've seen Broken Trident 1, like that, those first few pages with the underwater like sea creatures being used as submarines type thing, that he's basically drawn his dream.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's cool. And you hadn't even told him that as you were drawing it?
No, this is the first I've heard this story, so I love this.
yeah. Yeah, and I have like artworks way before, like years before. I have one like uh art set, like set of sketches that are all underwater, like fish people. I have like sketches of like fish environments, and have this artwork where there's this Atlantean that's riding a motorized underwater vehicle. Um, I told and I showed Dave about this artwork, but the thing is that our setting for the underwater city was like on a different like time period, so the high tech stuff won't work. So what I told him is, I really love the idea that the underwater civilization is like have this vehicles like and has this traffic that's almost like what we see in metropolitan areas. So I was like, oh, can we do like instead of high tech vehicles, could we do like fish that would act like horse carts, right? Like,
Mhm.
but instead of horse carts, it'd be like fish carts underwater. So that's where the idea of the first panel that you could see that on the Broken Trident city where there are like fish carts.
I remember when you sent me the concept art for that, I immediately sent it to Travis before, because Travis Eiler and I now all have a Discord together, but with the time, Travis doesn't have Facebook or any social media, so I
Smart
would
man.
use Eiler. Yeah, I know. I would use Facebook Messenger to talk to Eiler and then send everything to Travis in old-fashioned text message.
Right.
And so I remember sending that to Travis, like, oh my God, look, this is perfect. Like this, he already had this. Like this fits our world so well.
That's cool. Now I'm going to tell a secret. Now, I personally know that B comes to this with an artistic background because I've seen a comic that she drew, but I know that you've gone into the writing for your own reasons. So when you write, do you start visually like Eiler, or do you start with words? Like how does your brain work when you start to write your comics?
It's definitely like I see a movie. I don't even see comic, like I don't see comic format, or even like it's like a movie, and then I put it all down and then I throw it to her, and then she chops it up into panels and stuff.
Okay.
I actually find paneling like really tiring.
I love it.
I don't like it, and that's probably why I didn't last as an artist.
I don't know. Has anybody else here watched Mythic Quest on Apple TV? There, it's if you like Sunny in Philadelphia, it's like Sunny in Philadelphia a little bit grown up. The characters are just as terrible, but it's Rob McElhenney kind of grown up as a creator, but with all the same hilarious humor, and I recommend it highly. But the two characters do have this macro versus micro One is big picture, one is I can see it but I can't build it, and the other is I can build it but I don't see it. And so that is great that you found this, obviously, obviously you work well together, but it's great that you can also work well together creatively, that's cool.
Yeah, we really found a groove, I think, like maybe when we got to like issue 5 of Sky, we finally figured it out, like what it is that I do versus what he does in terms of our writing, and then she gives it back to me and I go, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, go fix it. But that's pretty much how we work.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
definitely a good system and it works for us. Because, yeah, I get bogged down sometimes in bigger stuff or like the tiny little details of things. And so if she does the outlines, it's just like, okay, I don't have to worry about that because it's right here.
Yeah, you can kind of just carve the turkey once she's cooked it.
Yes, exactly.
How do you do it with Tyler, Dave?
Not with Travis.
Oh, Travis, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Basically the same
I have
way.
two cousins, one's Travis and one's Tyler.
Oh,
so
funny.
I'm gonna make that mistake forever. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. That's funny, actually. It's funny that you say it, too, because last time I was on your show, Travis couldn't make it either, but Travis Gibb was on your show.
Oh, yeah.
And I was talking about Travis, and we kept having to be like, no, my Travis. But so Travis is an English major. And he's very, like, critical of his own work, overly critical of his own work, and he'd be the first one to tell you that. And he, years and years ago, was like, I really want to write a graphic novel. He wanted to just go right into like a big work instead of starting with comics. And at the time, I told you him and I wrote comics as kids, but I was so busy with work and having my own kids and stuff that I couldn't do it. And then when I came to him with this idea for Broken Trident, it worked out so perfectly because he's never been able to write his graphic novel because he can't like word vomit onto a page. Like he has to like write it out like perfectly. He corrects his grammar as he types. Like it's like perfection or nothing. And when I write, I'm just like a million words a minute. Like it doesn't matter if it makes sense. It doesn't matter if it's spelled right. There's red underlines on everything. Like the grammar doesn't make sense. I get it all out there, and then if it wasn't for Travis, I would have to then go back in and re-edit my shit mess of words. But
Right.
Travis is so good at it. We call him the editor, but he's the co-writer and editor because comes up with a lot of this himself too. But he fixes my mess and makes it make sense.
I think we all want our first draft to be perfect, but that perfection can be the enemy of finishing anything. It's like,
For sure.
I think that's something that I think sometimes you can feel when something isn't working, and it's okay to stop and start again. If you just feel like it's just not working, but it is preferable to finish a bad story and try another draft than it is to keep perfecting page 1 and never get to page 2, because you really want a good page 1 in your comic, but if it doesn't lead to page 2, it doesn't get you anywhere. So I think it's cool that everybody here has kind of found their groove of how to get something done, whether it be dogs are allowed on this show. Dogs are allowed on this show. They don't have to hide.
They bolted like off of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It came to me looking for love.
Yeah. So what you guys, in the Philippines and up north don't know is we're having our first cold snap, maybe our second cold snap of the winter. And so
where are you again, Kevin?
I'm in Fort Lauderdale, and Barrowby are about 45 minutes north of me.
Maybe an hour.
Maybe an hour. So they're
What's your cold snap, like 50?
I think it's going to hit 40 tonight. So yeah. What are you, 4?
Probably. We're at. Can you see my phone? We're at 9.
9.
Yeah.
You're off one of the Great Lakes, right?
I'm way south in Minnesota, so I'm not by the Great Lakes. But the Lake Superior is Duluth, Minnesota's on Lake Superior.
Got it.
I was in San Antonio last week for my son's basic training graduation, and oh my God, I did not want to come back here. Like, it was 78 degrees, and we were walking around in shorts, like, and then you come back here, and it wasn't too cold. We were having a warm front. It was like 30.
Yeah. Well, you know, the weirdest thing, I swear to God, I don't understand this. 48 down here is colder than 28 in Cleveland. Because my wife's from Cleveland. We go up there and visit, and it's 28 degrees, and it feels wonderful. And it's 46 here, and I'm.
It's probably something to do with the humidity or something, I imagine, because
A little bit.
when I was
Air in the middle down.
when I was in the Air Force, I was in Mountain Home, Idaho, and it doesn't get as cold there as it does here. It's like 25 is cold there, you know, like that's the
Right.
coldest it gets. And on the flight line, though, when you're in like this, I was working on airplanes, I was in the Air Force there. The straight winds were terrible, and then I went to Alaska on deployment, and it was warmer and nicer in Alaska, and the temperatures weren't much different, but it just felt not cold.
Right. All right. Bobby's in the chat, and yo to you, Bobby. Thank you for joining us. Bobby's new to me, so I hope he's one of your readers. So welcome to the chat.
maybe,
Welcome to
yeah.
explain yourself. If you have any questions about Crossroads or how to build an army, please put it in the chat. We'll get it answered.
Hey, really quick, Eiler, did you say the original name of How to Build an Army?
Yeah, Veda. Yeah.
Oh, that was okay. I knew that.
Yeah,
was,
the name of the
that was-
protagonist. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, as a guy with the comic name chart, I'm with naming it after the protagonist. You know, don't take time, just do it.
Yeah.
And then you get to me, and I'm like, how many words can I fit into a sentence? Can it be a sentence? Is that okay?
And help us to rebuild the
Can it
sky.
be a sentence?
Mm.
It absolutely can. I think what is it? The house at the end of the lake. Who's killing the children? I think that you are on the trend, and since I know, and Can We Rebuild the Sky was before I heard of either of those, I knew you were ahead of the trend, even though no one will give you that credit when your comic comes out. I know.
Yeah, I named it back when I was 19. Yeah, 19.
I like
So
those names.
long ago. No, like 2004.
I think that naming something a work is one of the most difficult things you can do. I've worked on things
Yeah.
for a year and not known what to call it. I've known exactly whether I want people to laugh at it, whether I want people to, cry at it, but I don't know what to call it or even a good name. I don't know how to title something. So,
Me neither.
so all right. So let's
Remember
go.
the ship. The
Oh
ship.
my God! Yeah.
We didn't know what to call it. Like the ship from the Broken Trident ship. Yeah, we took a lot of time like naming it. It was like we were
We
like
actually
working
pulled our
on the
email there.
pages. Yeah, we were like 2 months or 3 months working on the pages already, and we were about to launch, and we still don't have a name for the ship.
How did
so
you
we
guys
pulled
come
the
up with
readers.
one?
We pulled the email list, and we had probably 10 submissions, and then someone had said the Invitus, and they kind of told us what the Invitus meant and everything, and yeah, that we were like, okay, we're going with this. It was the best one of all the submissions, and
What an elegant solution, because you've also given your audience an investment in the book. So
right.
you pawn this thing that's already giving you a headache off on people, and yet you get a good
They
name,
feel part of it.
Yeah,
and they're part of
Exactly.
it. So that's brilliant. All right, I think I'm going to steal that for the next time I get.
Yeah.
yeah.
Can't come up with a name to the Discord.
Well,
we did
and then
have a contest for one demon's name. We did allow people to put it in.
Yeah.
So.
I'll give you another little insider secret. We still don't have a name for the big bad for Broken Trident. my 9-year-old daughter she's always asked me, do you have a name for your bad guy yet? No.
Not yet. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Eventually, maybe I know, like the bad guy would reveal himself. So
Right.
like sometimes I like to think that our stories are like alive, like like they just reveal themselves.
That's kind of the way I look at it too. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the folk singer Arlo Guthrie?
Hmm.
Okay, so look him up. He's wonderful. He's really funny. He did Alice's Restaurant. It's about an 18-minute song, really funny. I recommend it highly. So I was living in New York and my parents were visiting me, and I found out that Arlo Guthrie was going to do a show at one of the major theaters there, and I'm blanking on it right now. And it's not important to the story, but I got tickets. So we were there, and Arlo he'd start a song, he'd be singing the song, and he'd just stop and go into a story. And when he was done with the story, he would go back in on exactly the same note he stopped in, and the band would just start back and they'd finish the song. So he was playing at one point, and he goes, I wrote this song once, and as a folk singer coming along with Bob Dylan, it's rough, because I said, I think of the songwriting as fishing, like the songs are there, you just got to catch it. And I just hate fishing downstream of Bob Dylan. I said to him once, can't you throw some of the little ones back?
That's awesome.
So I think there's something, like I said, I'm not going to tell you that wasn't the universe talking. I'm not going to tell you that these stories aren't sort of out there, and then we meld them and we find them and we massage them, but who knows where they really come from. Tate says, as for the name, pay no attention to the bad guy behind the curtain. Well, I think that as you get closer, maybe you can just crowdsource that as well. But if it comes to you, it'll come to you too.
Right.
And it's
All right.
so weird, just because naming things is my favorite thing, and so
I'm always like, you just name it.
yeah,
Come up with a name.
that's what all of my, like, anybody who wants like something named, they just ask me to do it.
Well, I might email you or join your Discord or something.
Go for it. Like, people, I don't know why, but like it's one of my favorite things to do. So this conversation's like, oh, really? It's hard.
So what I'll need you to do is text me the Discord, and we'll put it in the show notes. So if anybody wants to join the Bear and Bee Discord, we'll put it in the show notes. Okay. Fair warning, you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to join their Patreon. So it will cost you money, but well worth it. Well worth it. And
there's a warm-up period.
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask you guys too, what you said you had a Patreon, so that means you're putting out like at least monthly content then, right? Like what are you putting out on the Patreon?
So we have about 5 different comics that we have ongoing. 2 of which have had Kickstarters. Well, the current one is our second. But basically it's early access to those comics, because then we also post it on Tapas, the web comic, and we do a different version of it, so that we have the traditional art, and that's going to be like obviously printed one day, and that's what we post on Patreon. And then we have the web comic version, which is like a scrolling format.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Was it a web comic?
Yeah, so it's both. We originally, like, my artist does both. Like, that's part of the package. Like, per page, it's going to be this version and this version, and the lettering and stuff she does too. She also does like anything that she sketches, anything that and also Boya, like both of them. I've got 2 artists, Anaku who does Sky, and then Boya who does Crossroads. And anything that she comes up with, I'm allowed to put on my Patreon. So
nice.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's, as a writer, I've never figured out how to offer a Patreon where I felt like I was because I can't control when the artist will deliver, but having multiple comics allows you. You can't control when Boya gets a page to you. You can ask, but
Right.
if you've got 5 different comics going, you probably can deliver pages to your audience. That's a nice way to do it.
Yeah, and we always have a big stockpile like built up, a buffer, and we say when things are going to be premiered, like, hey guys, look forward to issue 3 of this, starting in 2 months.
No, that's
we
awesome.
also had for a while we did short stories also, just like little like
Yeah,
blurbs and things like that.
yeah, like insight into the characters and things like that. Maybe with with a sketch to go with it. So yeah, little short things like that too. We try to post at least once a week. Um,
we kind of ramp up around Kickstarter.
yeah, I've been doing like 3 times a week lately.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna do it's 10 to 12 in my time. So let's do one more quick hitter on both books. Now, I don't know if you do comic conventions, Eiler, but if you were at a show or at a comic shop or a manga shop and somebody was walking up to you, how would you get their attention in about 30 seconds on how to build an army?
I guess, well, if you like fantasy adventures, if you like fantasy anime, like isekai animes, and yeah, things like Shield Hero, and and if you're into like fantasy stories like Narnia and Lord of the Rings, and yeah, if you're a fantasy fan, then this is a comic for you.
Awesome. All right. Baron B, one more time. Crossroads. Use your words.
Okay, let's see if we got better this
See
time.
what
Right?
made it do it?
No, I can do it. Okay. So, yeah, dude. Right. So, it is a story about 2 brothers who are spreading their estranged father's ashes across country. It turns out that in every stop they go at, there's a new cryptid that they have to figure out a way to contain for at least a year. Good. Yeah, it's okay. Okay. Yeah. And it is definitely reminiscent of more so X-Files because we like the horror part of it, I think, more than like Supernatural or even Hellboy. Plus one of the characters used to be a cop, so he's like thinking about it in terms of case files. So that's
And one of them's trying to be a lawyer.
yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, I am going to just talk about one of the campaigns that is still live that we talked about last week, and a couple friends just launched. So, as always, you can hang and be part of that conversation. If it's lunchtime in the Philippines, or if it's time to go to bed, I totally understand that too. But Shawnee Myers just hit in the chat. You are all awesome. Have a great night, folks. So
Thank you, Sean.
they are. So last week we had a chance to talk to Matt Mira Lowry. He does an amazing sci-fi anthology called Thoughtscape Comics. The conceit behind that is that a company has figured out how to find in this other dimension every idea that has ever been conceived in the history of humankind and turn them into stories. And Thoughtscape Comics is those stories. Really recommend, if you get it, reading issues 1 and 2. I recommend getting all 3, but I haven't read 3, because you start to see some characters interacting and intertwining as Matt gets to write all of these stories with multiple amazing artists. So I really like Thoughtscape Comics, and I hope that you guys can check it out. Slightly different is our friends Phil and Kat have a comic. They do the anthology By Visibility, and out of that they did their By Visibility pen set with little kitty cat, little dog. You can pick your rainbow colored dog or cat. And now they have opened it up. There is trans pins, ace pins, a rainbow colored dragon. If you like fantasy and you want to go to a convention and fly your colors, this is a great pin set. And I do have the first set of pins, and they are extraordinarily beautiful pins. So if you want to wear them, I recommend them. We also have Torchlight Games is Brant and Lisa Fowler's game company. They do puzzles, and I believe this one is. Let me look at it so I just don't get it wrong. This one is Alice in Wonderland, I believe, but you can get multiple different. No. This is Wizard of Oz. Wonderland and Neverland were the first campaign. So you can get a puzzle. You can check it out. They do amazing books like Last Ember and Bloom Pretty, and they're great people. And Steve Bryant, who I'm going to try to convince to come on the show in the next couple weeks, he just launched a campaign for Evie Van Helsing. And this is if the heir to the Van Helsing throne of vampire hunters really just wanted to be a rock star guitarist and gets thrown into the world, and she has to figure out where she exists. So issue 1 just launched, and they are killing it. The art is really cool, and Steve's a great dude. So check those campaigns out if they interest you. And before we go, really appreciate all 4 of you joining us. I hope your campaigns kill it. I know you're both getting right into that super important halfway funded, and if we keep going, we're gonna kill it, and you're gonna get funded, and we'll see you for the next installment of your books. Sound good?
Sounds
All
good.
right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you.
Eiler, it's very nice to meet you, and everybody in the chat. I think we had Shawnee, Bobby, Tate, Shannon. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you.